This presentation introduces the result of the 2019 IRPA survey on the implementation of the length dose limits. As we know, in 2011, ICRP recommended a reduction of the occupational dose limit for the length of the eyes, and in 2012, IRPA launched a task group to identify the key issues on this matter, and in 2015 started with a second task group to review the progress. Now we are with the third IRPA survey started in 2019. Here we have in the figures a report regarding the three survey and also the composition of this last task group, including members of IRPA Association Society of different geographical areas. The task group aim is to promote a wide exchange of experience on which are the impact of this change in those limits and its implementation. So the questionnaire of the survey is based on 27 questions developed over 4 topics. So implication for monitoring and assessing length dose. Sorry. The implication related to the method of protection considering the different field of application, and then direct and indirect impact related to the implementation of revised limit. Then we have as last point the legislation process activated or just considered in relation to these new limits. The task group received completed questionnaire from 26 associations and in addition from 10 other institutions or organizations. So the analysis was performed on the basis of 34 country-related answers, as we merged the answers provided from the same country. As you can see here in the figure, are involved the American part, so North and South America, the Asian, Australian, African, and the European countries. So the result of the analysis were object of a document, and this document is available on the IRPA web. Just go into IRPA web, topics, length of the eyes. Here we have just a summary of the result of all the survey. For example, related to dosimetry and protection, on the basis of the 34 countries involved, 1/3 of these countries well known the development of new dosimetry, including HP3 dosimetry. And there is a significant variation in dosimetry arrangement for interventional staff, including different options as one dosimeter worn under the lid apron and one other over the apron at the collar level or adjacent to the eye. And another option is a single dosimeter at the collar outside the apron or a single dosimeter under the lid apron. And as normally it is used in this case, also we have option like graded system with a combination of different approaches. in the document also we have an indication about the geographical region involved, as told before, Africa, Americas, Asia, Australia, and Europe, as told before. For example, 1/3 of the country calibrated dosimeters in terms of HP3. And we have almost 2/3 of the country making tests or dosimeter worn adjacent to the eyes. Another important point is to decide when starting with monitoring, and the indication is to consider level of 5 or 6 millisievert, and we have more than 1/3 of the answer considering monitoring suggested for high dose above 5 or 6 millisievert, and something just a number just less than 1/4 for monitoring suggested for high dose above 15 millisievert. More regarding dosimetry and protection, with pilot studies were recognized by the participants. The majority are performed in the medical field, addressing interventional radiology and cardiology, and some cases in nuclear medicine and the nuclear power industry. So pilot studies in some cases involve cooperation of different countries, and in particular in Europe, as there are the radiation protection research platform in action. And 1/3 of the country reported measurement on the level of effectiveness of protection through dosimetry monitoring. And this is a well-recognized point, the need for develop a procedure for the verification of the provided protection by glasses. And the most common protection means to reduce dose in interventional procedure are, as you know, sealing, suspending, shielding, and the lid glasses. And we have 19 countries answering that this protection device are used as a regular basis, and 13 indicating the available use depending on the end users, and the application of alarm tools in combining time reducing and increasing distance and using shielding is provided in our survey by 15 countries. Then the design glasses and the shape of the face is a very important point in relation to reduce unprotected spaces. Thank you. So another point is related, as told before, to the legislation process, and we can say from our surveys that the great majority of countries indicated an active level of involvement of the professional association in legislative process at a different level, considering the discussion with pertinent authority or also comment on the draft of legislation. But in any case, most countries have or intended to adopt the new limit as indicated by IRPA. In most countries, medical examination as surveillance of workers include already the eye length examination. So half of the country indicated that with new limit there is no changes, while other indicated that the new limit may give the possibility to the need to have more frequent examination. Many countries also reported, this is very important, code of practice, guidance, and information on the website related to radiation protection and those monitoring for the length of the eyes. So we have here the indication regarding the number of answering the surveys that we have. Another important point regards the wider issue of tissue reaction, and only 1/3 of countries recognize to address this point. In any case, potential circulatory radiation effect that could be having a low dose or low dose rate is being under consideration. The survey proposed also other issues that emerged. One is the concern about additional cost and time required to implement a new dosimetry, particularly in interventional procedure, and the requirement of really additional training for staff, and the cost also related to improving design of protective airway, so take into account ergonomics aspect for proper fitting. The question related to eye length for patient and public was also introduced, so no specific issues of scenarios of eye length dose is required for the public, but the attention is needed for minimizing those for the eye length of a patient in interventional procedure, in particular if we consider pediatric patients, and in the preparation, in the planning of radiotherapy treatment. And finally, we have also a number of recommendations by the participant. Here, just some of the global recommendations we received. One part regard the regulatory aspect, to prepare or proceed with endorsement of guidance related to the compliance with the new national dose limit, to prepare specific guidance on implementation in standard procedure, to provide clear information on certification and calibration of personal dosimeter, make a clear decision with involvement of dosimetry laboratory about the necessity for measuring HP3 or considering other quantity could be used. And moreover, regarding workers and management, to implement clear and comprehensive procedure governing the aspect of procedure, to implement a more rigid verification on those optimization we received by the participants, this indication, to raise awareness among workers, including also to provide more education for raising awareness. Need for patients include the benefit or risk and risk communication, taking into account this aspect, to explain to the patient in case of foreseen high dose to the lens before starting the procedure, and in relation to informed consent, and in any case continuous research on this aspect of protection of patient lens, in particular for neurointerventional radiology and head CT. In conclusion, this third IRPA survey highlights the introduction of new limit is well underway in the majority of the countries of the survey. So obviously not all countries are intended to adopt the limit in the foreseeable future. In any case, compared to the previous survey, a significant amount of work was carried out in relation to the practical implementation, and national and international guidelines are available in half of the country considering our survey. So there is an agreement that training and education is really crucial, and it is important to continue monitoring these development in order to facilitate and sharing information and experience, and assessing also authorities still determine the appropriateness of implementation in their country. So thank you very much for your attention to the dose, to the length of the ad. Thank you.